Welcome to today's Business Spotlight interview. Today, my guest is Simon Evans from Little Big Bikes. Simon, you're very welcome.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
So tell our massive audience here today, what do you do? How long have you been doing it?
I'm Simon Evans. I'm a sort of bike designer, but I'm from Little Big Bikes. We designed this little adaptable balance bike for kids that allows kids to get started on their cycling journey. But importantly, it grows with the child, so parents get a lot longer out of one bike than they might do otherwise. We've been in business now for nearly 10 years, yeah, doing really well, and yeah, really enjoying the journey.
So this is something you've invented, you've created.
Yeah. So I invented it about 12 years ago. So I can give you the quick backstory because it's an interesting.
Please do, yeah.
So actually, before I trained as an engineer, structural engineer, and was working in Cambridge for a few years in the UK, and got to work on some really interesting buildings. Assumed I would always be in that field. Never imagined I would be here, doing bikes. But in 2008, I left my job to go and cycle around the world. And myself and my best mate Fergal, we cycled for 30,000 kilometers all the way around the world.
Wow.
Through 31 countries, I think, for 18 months of, so big old journey, and got all obviously love bikes, but crucially, when we came back, it was 2010. And during the recession in Ireland, and there were no jobs for engineers in Ireland, basically. So I came home going, what am I going to do?
On your bike.
Yeah, I was off the bike, and it takes a bit of time just to get grounded again. I've been on the road for 18 months. You're moving day by day, and even just to be in one place felt a bit alien. But just got a job in a bike shop while I worked out what to do. And it was there that I saw, and was just one particular day, I still remember it, there was just a row of all the kids' bikes lined up, and there's these balance bikes is a generic term of them, where kids there's no pedals on them at all. Kids just sit on a saddle, run with their feet basically. And the point is that it because of no pedals, it teaches them how to balance much earlier than they would do on a bike with stabilizers. But the big issue with those is that parents have to come back and then buy another bike. They have to go and buy the bike with the pedals.
Yes.
I remember seeing them and going, why don't you have one that can change between the two, that can transform between the two? And I had that little light bulb moment, and that was in around 2007. And yeah, so after that, load of design work, trying to work out how it was an idea, a concept, but I had no idea how I would do it. And it makes a long time to make something, something transformable like that, but to make it aesthetic and simple and ergonomic for people to use and everything. So yes, we started the business then, and started then in 2015 was the first batch of bikes.
Excellent. So it's primarily for young kids bikes up to the age of
from around 2 until around 6 or
Fantastic.
7. Yeah.
Okay.
So normally you go through about 2 or 3 bikes within that age range. So that one bike replaces 2 or 3 standard bikes that you would have to buy.
Fantastic. So in your role when you became an employee, you were working for a large engineering company doing massive buildings and stuff. Then you became a business owner.
Yeah.
What have you learned? What have you learned most since you became a business owner?
I think the most important thing I've learned probably since, or at least throughout the journey, is just to make sure to take care of customers. And it's one thing I've always wanted to, it's my baby, it's the bike design. I want to see it flourish. But I feel that the best way of doing that is to take care of the parents who are, and the kids who are buying a bike, and then they tell their friends and they tell their friends, and it has led to really good organic growth and really happy people, really happy customers, and then less, headaches for us because you're taking care of people all the time.
I'm sorry, just for our audience, where are you based?
We're in Ireland.
You're in Ireland, so you deliver anywhere in Ireland. But is it mainly online, or
mainly? We've gone to 75 countries so far. So we export. Actually, UK is our biggest market, but we also go USA quite a lot. and then Ireland, but they've gone, yeah, like I said, all through the four corners of the earth.
Fantastic. So I presume that meant you had to do a little bit of traveling as well.
Well, I've been to the factory. So the bikes are made in two different factories in China, but we assemble them so we get them in parts, and we actually assemble them in our warehouse here.
Okay.
So it means that we have control over the finished product that the customer sees. We do all the final assembly, brake adjustments, fully assemble the bike so that we have our own eyeballs and our own quality checks before the bike goes out. So we can, have the assurance that everything that goes out is tip top.
Fantastic. So I presume it's a very easy rise to success, just a very straight line. It's been simple all
Yeah,
the way.
no issues whatsoever. No issues whatsoever.
What were the biggest challenges, the biggest issues that you looking back, or say over the last 5-6 years, that you've overcome?
A couple of interesting ones. The first one was the very first batch of bikes. We started going, and so we got them just before Christmas in 2014, 15. No, 2014 was the very first batch of bikes. Sold those. We had a lot of pre-sales on those, and we were happy with the way it all started out. And then the warehouse that the bikes were in caught fire. It was a shared warehouse, and everything went. I remember the fireman ringing me, and he was like, "Sorry, Little Big Bikes, everything there is turned to ash." And we had orders there. That was our first batch. And so trying to get back after that was really difficult, because obviously, your cash flow, that was your thing, and trying to sort out the insurance, and it was just really, difficult. And then just in terms of that meant that we didn't have any bikes whatsoever for about 6 months. Thankfully, loads of people did pre-orders, or managed to get people customers invested in really wanting this bike, because it was only just new on the market and they wanted it. And so we managed to get over that. That was definitely one turbulent time. And then I suppose during COVID was booming. Like, it's really good for the bike industry in general, but difficult to manage, because everybody wanted bikes. Everyone was off and wanted to get out in their bikes and out for family time. But just the factories were, it was really difficult to get the factories. They were all locked down as well for long periods of time. And so there was a lot of that whole year or 2 years we'd have a load of bikes, they'd all come in and they'd they'd all be pre-sold, and they'd pretty much immediately go out the door. Wow. And then we wouldn't have bikes for another few months, and it was really difficult just to get back into the phase where we actually had items in stock.
So to get that consistency all the time.
Yeah, the consistency, yeah.
So even the business there, looking at yourself then during that period, what were the biggest learnings you got out of? You became a business owner, you went through the challenges. What were the biggest learnings you found out about yourself?
I suppose there's a couple of things. One is to try and not flit about too much between different things. So I actually have different staff work with me I've been trying to, not work in the classic thing of not working in your working on
the
it,
business.
And so I try and not do so much of the day-to-day things, the orders and dispatch and things, so I can actually just try and think of other avenues, and trying to, actually, we were talking about books earlier. I read a book, Essentialism, and just trying to work out what's the most important thing, both in life for me personally, and to have that switch off time, and but also for the business to try and really focus in on what's important.
And so you've obviously built a team of people that work with you at this stage?
Yeah, so we still only have there's 5 of us here. It fluctuates depending on the time of year, so we'll get more people in for Christmas time, say, whenever we're really busy. And then we have different kind of contractors who we work with as well.
Very good. So balancing work life is important, presumably, for you and your team.
Absolutely.
Okay, and do you focus on that? Have you invested a lot to make sure that everybody has got that work-life balance?
Yeah, like for me personally, like I try and make sure that I, totally switch off, even all the phones and emails and all that. When I first started the business, it was even at weekends, I'd be like seeing what's coming in. Oh, an order came through, or an email came through. But I found, you just have that constant kind of stress, and you're not enjoying your family life, and it doesn't really help in customers will understand if you don't get back to you until a Monday. You know, they don't expect a small business to be there all the time. And so yeah, so I had to learn to kind of switch off and be there in the moment with, you know, with the family, and to, you know, come back to the work on a Monday and fully invested then when you're in the office, you're working in the business.
Very good. Important to be able to switch off. So tell us the future of your industry, of your business. What do you think it looks like in the next 5 years?
Well, I've got a couple of ideas for an updated model of the bike, and then an expansion, maybe expanding the model range as well. So we're going to update this one here, and then so we're actually prototyping that at the moment. My little daughter is just on one as well, and it worked great for her. So yeah,
Excellent.
so delighted with that. Just to refresh it basically, and then maybe to expand the product line into bigger models. So we have a lot of people who have outgrown the starter bike, and they're like, oh, we'd love to stay with it, but we don't have anything further to offer them. So I'd like to be able to offer that.
Build on top of that success. Yeah, absolutely. I think that sounds like a plan.
And then really, I suppose the other thing is just growth, just to keeping on expanding. But we've always tried to keep it, you know, a manageable level of growth, to make sure that we don't grow so fast that you can't actually, again, like I said earlier, to take care of the customers, that you don't. So you have to be able to have the stock, have the ability to support people if they have any, you know, the questions and things, and to make sure that our quality is always up to scratch.
Very good. So last question I want to ask you. There'll be a number of younger people, entrepreneurs, thinking of getting into business. And they're looking at you saying, God, he's such a success. How did he do this? What advice would you look back on to an 18-year-old you, or what advice would you pass on to young entrepreneurs who are thinking of starting a business?
I think the biggest thing for me is the fact that I love bikes. I live and breathe bikes. When I'm not here, I'm out on my bike. I'm thinking, you know, like I'm mountain biking or whatever. So I think if you're, you know, to have a business idea that you're really into, and not just, you know, I know some people do, you know, you might do a business course and you think of trying to work out a business that just, what business could I do? Whereas never thought I would be in business, and it was only because I had this idea, and I'm lucky enough to work in a field that I love, which is bikes, and really knowledgeable about. So so it definitely makes it's not work in the same way as if you know.
So having a passion, but obviously
having the passion
being important, you got to have that.
Yeah, I think that's really
so
important.
Where do people contact you?
From everything is through our website, littlebigbikes.com.
littlebigbikes.com. I actually have it on a big screen here at the moment, guys. It's fantastic. Have a look at this thing. It's great. Simon, thank you so much for taking part in this Business Spotlight today. I'm wishing you every success in the coming future. I look forward to chatting to you again, maybe another 5 years.
For sure. Excellent. Thanks so much for having me. Cheers.